Dzeeff's State of Yu-Gi-Oh. It's interesting. You know, I'm someone who watches all other things, by the way. I watch like Overwatch and stuff, and like someone who's very big in the community made the state of the game of Overwatch. Like, I feel like every game that I'm into right now just isn't going well. But this is not a reaction channel. This is not a reaction channel. This is not a make me content channel. But we're gonna take a look at Dzeeff's State of the Game, and let's see what Dzeeff has to say about the state of Yu-Gi-Oh. I'm just gonna hazard a guess here, Dzeeff. I think you're defending it. I think you're defending it.
Back when the 200th YCS was initially revealed to be in Columbus, Ohio, I decided because it was very close to me...
Is that loud enough? Can you still hear me?
Lucas Peterson lives, that I would ask him to come out of Yu-Gi-Oh! Retirement and play at that event. Because even though he still writes articles for TCGplayer.com, and even though he still plays the game casually and goes to a couple regional qualifiers every year, it had been a very long time, almost 2 years since he had been to a big event like a YCS or WCQ, and I thought that the 200th YCS was the perfect event because you get so much for entering those events. They give you a match,
okay, so his friend
field center,
comes back to the game,
cool
and
stuff. And I really wanted
I guess
to see
he's
him
going
again,
to
so I asked
tell
him
us.
to come to that event, and he agreed. So he showed up, and on Sunday,
I guess he's going to tell us
sort of
what his
asking
friend
him
thinks
how he
coming
felt
back
about new Yu-Gi-Oh, 2018 Yu-Gi-Oh. He said something that has not been able to get out of my head since that day, and what he said to me was that he enjoyed and had a lot of fun in every game, whether or not he won or lost, as long as he got to play a card. And that really stuck with me because it's
Pog. That's the thing, right? I feel like the game is fine if you can actually like play, right? Like everything these days is like it's almost like a Venn diagram, no, not Venn diagram. It's like a flowchart diagram of like playing Yu-Gi-Oh today. That's how I feel it works. It's like you make X play, does it get hand trapped? Okay, now you go to Y play. Does that get another hand trap? Then you have Z play. Like, you know, it's just like it's like a branch that like flows through, and it's like Yu-Gi-Oh is fun if you can play, you know, but like there's a response for everything, I feel like, you know, it's like a strike here, an ash there, a bell here. So that's actually a 400 IQ. I've just felt like I've ascended, by the way. My brain has actually just been blown. That's actually so true. Every time you get to play the game, it's enjoyable. When you play Yu-Gi-Oh, it is fun. Like, regardless of the format, I feel. But this format particularly just doesn't really let you play that much, I think. There's just so much disruption, like so much disruption in Yu-Gi-Oh now.
It seems like in 2018, more so than any other year of Yu-Gi-Oh's history, people just don't want to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And don't get me wrong, we've always had combo decks, we've always had FTK decks in certain formats, but it seems like 2018 in particular, we've had so many decks out there, even the decks that people see as more rogue meta-ish strategies like Altergeist and Thunder Dragons don't want you to play the game because Thunder Dragons have Colossus to prevent you from searching, Altergeist play Floodgates like Secret Village or Rivalry of Warlords, and then obviously things...
See, but I just want to say something about these two decks. It's like we always complain about the Firewall combo decks. We always complain about the FTKs, the Firewall strategies, the blah-blah-blah, right? We always complain about that. But see, the thing is, even if we didn't have those, this would be the meta, right? And this isn't actually particularly fun if you play against these decks, you know? Like, if you play a deck that has any form of, like, reliance on searching, it's, like, really, really tough. You know, have you tried to play Sky Striker versus Colossus? Like, yeah, sometimes you can, like, Hayate and then add back with Kagari. Like, sometimes that works, but, like triple Colossus, double Colossus starting hand, like, that's very, very doable. Like, it's really hard sometimes, you know? And, like, Altergeist, have you, like, playing against Altergeist, like, it's, like, really unfun sometimes because there's just so much disruption. I might be biased in that sense because I play Burning Abyss, and Burning Abyss versus Altergeist is literally like having a fucking beautiful, gorgeous mommy with nice stiletto heels just stamping on your balls, like, for, like, 10 fucking minutes, right? That's what it feels like to play BA versus Altergeist, you know? So, like, even if the FTK broken decks that basically just, you know, combo, you don't get to play a card decks go and do their thing, the second best decks is, like, this tier of the meta, like Thunder Dragons and Altergeist, and you still can't play like versus those decks, you know? That's why I think this format's particularly worse, because even if these best combo decks are out of the game, these things take precedence, you know? And it's really hard to beat these decks. I'll turn chat on, by the way.
Actual FTK decks don't even want you to have a turn, but even decks like Goki, which aren't technically an FTK and don't technically restrict you from searching, they want to extra link you so you don't actually get a chance to play any of your cards, and they just want to win on the first turn. Ironically, the only deck out there right now that doesn't floodgate you and doesn't lock you out of playing is Sky Strikers. Many people complain about Sky Strikers, but when you really think about it, that's like the most fair, popular deck out there right now. It's very skill.
Isn't it crazy that a deck that draws free cards every single turn, like literally a free card every turn, is like considered healthy in 2018? Like this is the healthiest deck of the format. You know, a deck that runs 3 bonus cards. You know, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Intensive to play. You have to do the right surges at the right time, and it just ends with like a 1500 attack monster with a couple negates, which means that it actually wants interaction from both players, and that's cool. That it's very popular deck, even though people still complain about it more so than any other deck out there. Sky Strikers is the one that lets you play the game the most.
And I don't know why people say like Sky Striker say the deck sucks. It's got the highest representation in Top Cut, and it won the last YCS. Sky Striker sucks, by the way. It sucks, by the way. Okay.
And while that has stayed in my mind and I have been thinking about it, what got to me even more than that was that after he told me that he liked playing when he actually got to play cards, he told me that he likely would never enter a competitive event like a YCS or a WCQ ever again, and that really hurt. I mean, I mentioned on Thanksgiving that it definitely sucks when people leave Yu-Gi-Oh! Forever, but he said that he basically just can't handle competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Anymore. And it's not that he doesn't like Yu-Gi-Oh! He still wants to play casually and still play at regional qualifiers and just play fun decks, but as far as competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Goes, to him, he said it just changed too much from what he knew it as in like 2014, 2015, and even 2016 when we went to that WCQ, and that really stuck with me, and that's what I've been thinking about over the past couple months. The state of Yu-Gi-Oh! In 2018, more so than any other period in Yu-Gi-Oh!'s history. The past 2 years, there's been so many FTK strategies, so many crazy strategies that end in like 4 negates. If you go back to
like 2018 really has been
like
awful.
2014, the combo decks, the really big combo decks like Sylvans and Lightsworn Rulers and just Mythic Rulers, those decks just ended with like a couple negations sometimes, and they didn't always open those ridiculous combos. Very often those combos were 2 and 3 card combos, where nowadays we have Armageddonite being...
It's like, you know, back in like 2014, the best, you know, first turn combo deck was like you had to like set up like so much stuff. Like if you're playing Mythic Rulers, you had to like trade in a level 8, you had to like Cards of Consonance a guy, you had to dig through and get the soul charge, and everything had to line up perfectly well. And fair enough, it did quite often because the deck was fairly consistent. All of that had to line up perfectly, and then even then the end board was like, you know, Felgrand, Stardust, Dracosac, I think was like the best thing like Sylvans did, you know, something like that. I don't know. And that was like the best deck, like by at least like in Patrick Hoban's opinion. You know, and like in order for that deck to go and do that, it needed to open really well, which sometimes you do, you know, that's Yu-Gi-Oh! But nowadays, opening busted in 2018 is Armageddonite. Opening busted in like 2014 was like, you know, Monk 2 spells and Infernity, you know, trade and slash consonants and like targets, and then like and then you had to draw that soul, etc., etc. You know, it's like the difference between the years is crazy.
A 1-card FTK. And I know there's going to be some comments in this video saying, well, aren't you being a hypocrite? Because I've made a video talking about how extra linking doesn't happen as often as you think it does, and how FTKs don't happen as often as you think it does. And in those videos, I want to talk about, and I want to mention in today's video, that I just didn't have enough foresight to see how bad this game would get in terms of, man, FTK is like an actual viable strategy. Even though it sort of underperformed at YCS Pasadena, it definitely...
I'm pretty sure he changed that video title anyway.
And the only reason it did so bad at Pasadena was because people were over side decking for it, so it didn't make it out of the early rounds. But just in general, the fact that an FTK is actually competitively viable in the same year that we had another FTK viable, Pendulum FTK, and even things like Gemini FTK, which while they're just a rogue strategy are still pretty good, just blows my mind. We've never had 3 viable FTKs in a single year ever in like the 20 years that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has been around, and yet 2018 we see 3 of them being pretty good.
Can I just say, by the way, it's funny that some people defend this. Like some people actually are like, oh yeah, it's fine. It's fine that Magician was the best deck with an FTK strategy. That's fine. Some people think that's okay. Some people actually look back at the Magician format earlier this year and they're like, oh, that was a great format. Yeah, that was fine. Some people actually defend the existence of Danger FTK. Some people defend the existence of Firewall. Some people defend the existence of all of these stupid dumb combo decks, you know? It really just boggles my mind how people think it's okay to win on the turn that your opponent doesn't draw a card, you know? Like that actually is the most like it's like someone coming up to me and telling me that 1 add 1 is 3. It's like literally like 1 + 1 = 3 Farfa, and I'm somehow meant to like accept that. That's how much that argument doesn't like compute in my brain, that there are people out there that think that winning on the turn where your opponent doesn't see a card, doesn't get to see their draw phase is okay. Some people think that's okay, and that really just doesn't compute. Like
that's not.
I just don't understand it. I just don't understand how anyone think that's fine.
A good thing. I mean, we all can know that, but I mean, I really just want to say that that's not a good sign. That does not mean that the game is in a healthy standpoint. I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Is in a very weird spot right now, where the next couple of years are really going to determine how long this game stays around for. And I'm not saying that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is dying, and I'm not saying that I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Is going to die anytime soon, but I am saying that we're in a very pivotal time period for Yu-Gi-Oh! In terms of the competitive landscape. Konami is obviously.
I don't even think that's true. Right. See, this is what really like confuses me, because it's like 2018 for me personally, and for a lot of people, has been the worst year for the fun aspect of Yu-Gi-Oh! Ever since I've began playing. You know, we've had some pretty poor years. Like I felt like last year was fairly poor overall. 2016 I thought was pretty fun. 2015 was okay mostly. 2014 was my favorite year. So all of the years I've played, like, it's generally been okay for the whole time, you know, except it's been getting worse and worse since Zoo died, for me personally. Since Master Rule 4. Literally since Master Rule 4 and the ban list that got rid of Thingy, the game's been getting worse for me and for a lot of people, especially this year. And we're in, like, what, November now? There's one more year. And this is what confuses me. It's like, we had the biggest European championship this year. We had record-breaking regional. We had record-breaking YCSs. We had so many records were broken this year. So, like, this is what doesn't make sense to me. And this is why I think Dzeeff's wrong in saying that, like, well, I guess he's not saying that the game's dying, but he's saying that, you know, it's a very volatile state right now. This is what I don't understand. It's like, people are still attending events. People are still going to YCS. They still love the game. Clearly, because they're still going to these, and it's just so weird, you know? It's crazy. So, I don't know. Either me and all the people I speak to who discuss 2018 are all wrong, or people just really like this. I don't know. I don't, like, the game must just be fine, I guess.
Now, but I think they really have to be careful with the TCG. Obviously, tournament numbers are still pretty high. I mean, they have been lower than maybe some previous years, but relative to, like, old school Yu-Gi-Oh! Like 5 or 10 years ago, they're still much higher. People are still interested in playing the game. It is a little worrying that YCS Pasadena only had 14 people, when in the past, California regional events have had 1,000 people. That's a little worrying, but a lot of people didn't want to play against the FTK.
Yeah, I think Pasadena was pretty bad turnout. 1,400 is a lot of people for YCS if you think about it, but for the standard that the West Coast of America sets, I don't think that's actually that much.
Which Firewall Dragon is not doing. It's insane to think about, and this is maybe a bold statement, but I would argue that the whole link summoning mechanic wouldn't be an issue if Firewall Dragon had been banned a long time ago. Think of all the crazy decks from the past year in 2018. We're coming to the end of 2018. There aren't any major events that I know of. There's no UDS events, there's no YCS events, nothing along those lines, just regional qualifiers. Think of all the craziness that could have been avoided. Think of all the toxicity that could have been avoided.
Wow, thanks, Dzeeff. Just completely forget that YCS Milan is happening next week. Like, wow. Toxic Americans, by the way. They completely forget we exist. Sad face.
If Konami would have just hit Firewall Dragon and banned it several formats ago, it would have been a fantastic year for Yu-Gi-Oh! Doki still probably would be played just because they're all floaters and they do so many different things, and Link monsters are still very powerful, but Firewall Dragon being gone would prevent a lot of the extra linking strategies, would prevent a lot of the FTKing strategies. It is the most toxic card in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! As of right now, and it shouldn't be in the game. And I realize that the week that I'm posting this video, it is extremely likely that a ban list could go up, but I think realistically, they're going to wait on the ban list. And the reason they're going to wait for the ban list is because there aren't any major events. And I think that's terrible.
God damn it, Dzeeff, YCS Milan is next week. What is this toxic Americanness?
Really do think it's a horrible idea, but it seems like a very Konami thing to do, and this really sucks because one of the things that I've done more so than any other Yu-Gi tuber, and I really mean this, is I have defended the set ban list dates not existing time and time again, and the reason that I defended them is because I know why Konami does it, and they did it originally. They implemented those not set ban list dates because they felt pressured to release ban lists at certain times when the format didn't need it. Now, the counterpoint to that and how it should be implemented is that in the case where the format does need,
I mean, I think that's, like, I don't think that's correct. Like, I don't think set ban lists stop, like, they do, like, here's the thing, right? OCG did this before. They actually did this so I get what he's saying. Like, the Konami feels the need to release a ban list when the format might not need a ban list. Yes, that is true, but they could literally do what the OCG needs, and they could just say no changes. OCG have done that before. Like, when the ban list date came, I can't remember what year this is. I think it was 2016 or 2017. They actually came, the ban list date came for the OCG, and they literally just said no changes. Like, that can happen. So I don't see, like, why that can't happen as well with the set balance. That's just a side tangent. I know it's not really relevant to what he's saying. Also, another thing, Konami, being the multi-million-dollar company that they have, with their amazing R&D and group of testers and internal testing, and the people whose literal job it is to detect the problem cards and to detect the combos and to guide the format into the way that they best see fit for the health of the game. Considering how, you know, that's their job, then they can preemptively hit cards before they come out. So, you know, the format might not need a ban list at July 2016 or something, but if they know that a set is coming out in August 2000 of that year, they can preemptively hit cards to stop that future thing becoming a problem. So I don't think, like, set ban list dates, I don't think not having set ban list dates alleviates the problems that he's talking about. I think that set ban list dates are better for the game than no set ban list dates. I think conceptually, no set ban list dates are better because, you know, they can just hit things as they come and stuff like that. But the problem is Konami doesn't do it optimally. So ideally, no set ban list works, but Konami don't work to a very ideal standard, in my opinion. They kind of just, you know, hit things based on product. They take too long. They don't really have the foresight for events. They drop ban lists far too close to the time of an event, etc., etc. So, you know, I think, you know, conceptually the idea and in theory, no ban list date works best. But the way Konami has been practicing it has been really bad, and I don't think it's good at all. And I would like to go back to set ban list dates, and I think set ban list dates alleviates a lot of the problems that we've been having with ban lists recently.
Need a ban list at that first no sooner than date, they have to implement the ban list on that date, because that's how the system should work. If a ban list needs to happen, they should do a ban list. And this past format right now that ended on November 20th, although it's still going, but that the no sooner than when it could be implemented was November 20th, which would have been right after YCS Pasadena. They should have implemented a new ban list. That would have been perfect. I've said time and time again, the reason the set ban list dates or the no set ban list dates work is because they don't need to rush ban lists out when they're not needed. But right now, Konami, if you're listening, I'm sure they're not, you need to implement a ban list. Your player base is leaving and you're not caring, and it just blows my mind that Firewall Dragon hasn't been banned, that it hasn't been eroded. I know I've talked a lot in this video about Firewall Dragon, but it truly is just.
I really don't think like I really don't think that people are leaving the game. See, that's the thing. Like, I don't know if he's actually right there. Like, there's very little evidence to say that the people are leaving the game right now. I don't think people are leaving the game. And no, he's not on cocaine stream. Dzeeff is not taking cocaine. I have sped up the video by 1.5 speed. That's why he sounds like that.
Sort of the culmination of everything wrong with 2018 Yu-Gi-Oh! And don't get me wrong, I know that like nostalgic players will watch this video and say, ha, I knew 2018 Yu-Gi-Oh! Was terrible, I should just go back to old school. But in the games where Firewall Dragon doesn't happen, in the games where you're not playing against FTK decks or Extra Link decks, I've had some of the most fun in Yu-Gi-Oh! Matches than I ever have just in this past year. It's just when you play those really heavy combo strategies or those floodgate strategies, it totally takes away any of the fun. And obviously, I know I play Ultrageist, so I'm part of the problem, but when you're in a format where you have to play a floodgate deck or a combo deck, you can't just actively pick neither and then hope to do well unless you're playing Skyscrapers. You have to use the tools at your disposal, which kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier with the Firewall thing that Dave said. If Firewall Dragon, if broken cards exist, the players are allowed to use them. They're actually encouraged to use them. It's just that Konami shouldn't allow those cards to exist. Things like Goza Match and Rivalry of Warlords probably shouldn't be at 3 copies per deck, but if they are, the decks that can play those cards are going to play those cards. They're not obligated to implement a gentleman's agreement to not play floodgates, and they're not extra link their opponent. Everyone's just going to tournaments to win. I just wish winning involved playing the game that I love in Yu-Gi-Oh! Anyway, though, thanks for watching this video. I know it's kind of a rambly discussion. This has just been something that's been building up in me ever since that 200th YCS, and we've seen the format actually get much worse from the format at that event, because at that event, it was pretty much just Skyscrapers and Trickstars and Invoked and
Yep. Well, that's yeah. I think yeah, it was a solid video. Like, you know, and it's crazy to see that Dzeeff of all people is like recognizing that this is the worst like the game has ever been, because Dzeeff generally is very positive about the game overall, and he's very much, you know, happy to defend Konami, more so than other people, which, you know, kudos to him. That's pretty commendable. I obviously try fixate on, you know, the more negative things, but again, like negativity comes from a place of love, and it comes from a place of wanting the game to be the best that it can. And, you know, I don't think Konami should take a look at, you know, what we say and what I say and be like, oh, you know, they're just complaining and complaining. People complain because they want it to be good, because they know how good it can be. I know the potential of this game. I've experienced and lived and breathed Yu-Gi-Oh! For the whole of 2014. I was obsessed with the game in 2014. I used to play all the time, and I used to love the game so much. And because I know how amazing the game it can be, and what the potential of the game can be, in terms of enjoyment and pure just love for the game, that's why we criticize it a lot right now. Because it really, like, this what right now we have is not the height of the game, is not the full potential of how much fun we can have, and it is not anywhere near as good as the game can be. So that's why we criticize, and I don't think they should be taking that. You know, yeah, exactly. I'm a mom, you know, like I'm a mommy, like I'm a nice, beautiful mommy, and I'm you know, I'm only harsh with you because I want you to stop being such a fucking waste of space. Yeah, okay, all right, solid Dzeeff video, solid Dzeeff. I rate this a solid 8 out of 10. Yeah, cool. That's the state of the game, guys.